Okay, so I've got a very basic setup in this file with a page that has a couple of viewports with the little bit of drawing I've done for the details. So what I'm going to recommend that you do for this whole project is try to keep as many of the drawings as you can in the one file, and don't try and spread them across multiple files, because then you can have all the page layouts in that one file and simply create viewports. And actually what I'll do very quickly is just open up another file that I've got that's a little bit further progressed, where I can show you what things will look like. Sorry, this will do. Is that the right one? Sorry, I've got a few versions of this, and AutoCAD is behaving in a strange way. Oh, this will do. Okay, so yeah, that's not the one I meant to open, but it's got the idea that I wanted to show you, which is that you'll have often many different drawings, and you can see it looks a bit messy with them all laid out next to each other, the plans there, with some sections above that have been projected off. This is actually the room that we're sitting in. Right, so then you can see, you know, the walls and everything there, and the doors, and then projecting up here to the section. So this is part of the way through projecting, and that's the section through the window that you can see right next to us here. And then coming across, this is the proposed drawing, so sticking an apartment in here with the existing walls in a different colour and the new things showing the materials. And then coming further across is the beginning of the site plan. And so then it doesn't matter if it's laid out in a messy way or a way that's not very presentable in model space, because you can then have all of the different views set up nicely on your sheets. And you can see here we've got the existing plan and the proposed plan set up side by side using viewports on a layout. And so coming back to our file, you can easily have as many details as you like. So we can of course keep copying these across and modify them to make more. And then when you get your plans, they'll be much larger, and I'll bring those in shortly. And you can have it all in the one file in that one model space tab, rather than trying to separate it into separate files to make it easier. So I'm going to now set up my page layout for the title page, and I'll just actually go to the brief so you can see the requirements. So you can see in the brief it tells you that you need a title page, contents list, and drawing schedule. Those things, to my mind anyway, are all basically the same thing. So it's a pretty standard convention in architecture and interior design to have, especially for construction drawings, the drawing schedule or the drawing list on the title page. So those things are often thought of as the same thing. The cover page will be your drawing schedule, and then the contents list in a list of drawings is again the drawing schedule. So I don't really even understand why they're listed separately. Maybe it's just so you can see the different terminology for the same thing.
The title page should be a heading.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. That's right. So they'll have the project in nice big font, and then the list of all the drawings. And it's a really good way of also planning out the work that you need to do by listing all of the drawings that you're going to do, even if you haven't started them yet. And then if you go down further into the brief, it's going to have a list of the drawings that you need to do. So I'll start off with that list in a second under construction drawings, but firstly we need to set up this page. And so again, in that one file that we're working with, you can start by just copying a layout if you want to, rather than making it from scratch. So yeah, it's good, that's fine. If you've got a setup, so here in my page setup manager, I'll just check so that you know the page size and make sure that's right, because I know we started off with A3 and then changed it to A2. So if you miss that, make sure you've got that same page setup. And is that something that John's confirmed with you, that you're doing A2? No? It should be A2, I'm pretty sure. That's what I spoke with him about a while back. I haven't confirmed it either myself, but pretty sure it's A2. Here we go, it does say here A2, yeah. So, yeah, if you're not printing it, yeah, A2 is fine, but you've also got the plotters here if you do want to print it. And it's a good thing to think about using larger page sizes when you're working with construction drawings, because you want to have, especially for interiors, 1 to 50 floor plans is fairly standard, and they need a bit of room usually. So, yeah, so try and set your pages up for at least A2, or you can even go to A1 if you want to. A1. Well, it used to be the standard actually, but now things are going to A2 more commonly, just because people tend to have smaller printers, I think. It's easy to carry around on site. It used to actually be AO, but carrying around AO drawings on site is a nightmare, and builders will hate you for it. Yeah, it is true. Yep. So a really nice thing you can do for your builders is laminate your drawings, and it's really hard to laminate drawings that big as well. But A2 is not that difficult. So, so again, we've got these things that we're going to have on that title page, and so I'll just set that up. So I've just shown you the page set up there, so you know it's A2, and so now I'll just right-click on that layout, go to Move or Copy, and tick Create a Copy. And because this is, I want this to go at the beginning, I'm actually going to select the first layout there, because the one you've selected is the one that it'll go before. The new one will go before that selected layout, in other words. So when I click OK, I'll have a new layout in front of layout 1. There you can see layout 1 version 2, and I'll just right click there and go to rename, or you can double click there usually to rename it as well, and we'll call this cover. We'll do it. Easy. And then I'll delete my viewports. We're not going to need any viewports on this page. Clear off any other annotation. We won't need a north point or a scale bar. And so then we can use parts of the title block. So if you want to copy that, you can explode it, I suppose, and use parts of it, but I'm going to delete it and start all that again from scratch. And then you need to have your text style set up before you make your text. And a little tip I can give you there is that if you've been setting up your dimensions or your leaders just before this, one of those styles might have been picked up as the current style. And so if you notice that your text isn't behaving the way you want to, just check that you've got the style that you think you do, or that you want, set as your current style. Oh, haven't you done leaders? I thought we did leaders. Yeah, we had a look at that last week, I think. So they're the ones with the arrows. Anyhow, if you haven't got a leader, that's right, you can do that later. They're just the text with an arrow though, if you miss that. So here, because I have just set up my leader, that's now my current text style, and I'm going to go back there to my title block, tags, text style. Doesn't really matter which style you use, but you need to know which style is current. So then when you go to make your text, I'm going to make some multi-line text just to make sure it's working. So what you're going to see then is it'll bring up the layout tab, sorry, the text editor tab, and it gives you a chance to change the height as you type. So it's a bit of an old thing to set up text. Oh, just up here. Yep. Yep. And that's the best way to do it, because even if you set up a text style with different heights in it, it seems to remember the last height you've used up here. Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. It's a funny system. Well, it seems strange at first, but it's like that because if you later go and change the height of a text style, you don't want it to change all the text you've already done. Because in CAD drawings, or just in technical drawings generally, you're going to have lots of different text heights. And you don't want to have all of that change every time you set up a new one for the future, if that makes sense. So I know it sounds strange, but it actually is like that for a reason. And so what you end up doing is just making sure that you've got a good kind of middle value here. So 3.5, that's fine to start with. And what you don't want is those big values. When you see values like 300, 500, that's set up for model space, and you've got to just keep an eye on that. So as long as you know there that it's paper units, and actually do you remember how to check that it's using those paper units? The thing above. So see how it's got the annotative highlighted? Yeah. So if you notice that isn't highlighted, that's where you might have some problems. So again, just check those things as you make your text, and it should work pretty well. So my text is 3.5, which is good for a lot of things, but for a drawing list, probably a bit small. So I'm going to type in 5 there. And you can see then as I type, I'll just put in drawing title. So nothing special, I've just got a block of text there. But you've got to just make sure that's working, and then you can make a drawing list simply by having text like this, which you can then copy and modify for your headings. So I'll just copy that across a few times. And so what sorts of things do you think you'd want in your drawing list? Just before you even get to that point of knowing the names, yeah, what sort of categories do you think you'll want? Yeah, so what would that be? So? Yeah, that's right. So that's it. You want to think about how you're sorting it first. You definitely want the drawing name, and that's what those things would be. But before the drawing name or the drawing title, you'd want to have the thing that you use to sort your drawings, and that's generally going to be your drawing number. So you can just put the hash symbol if you want to. Up to you, or NO, whatever you like. So that normally will come first. Then you have the drawing title. What else do you think you want? Yeah, well, that's your drawing number. Yep. Yep. So, date, exactly. That's one of the most important. So, date, because the drawings often will have different issue dates. So, you want that. And, yeah, you would, yeah. So, okay, so amendments often are tied with the drawing number. If you're going to have a separate column for that, then you can have a column for amendments. So, that's another one. Oops. A-double-M, isn't it? Can I spell? No, A-M. There we go. And, okay, so we've got date. What else do you think you want on that drawing list to start with? That's it. That's the last major one. Yep. Drawn by, yep. That's right. He's the person responsible for all the mistakes. Or yep, that's right. So, yeah, so you definitely want that. And that could even go before the date. Just by convention, sometimes the date goes at the end. So they're the main ones. You can have the project number and the project name, but if it's going to be on the title page anyway, well, do you really need that in the table? And so that's a good basic setup. And so, as I've been saying, you can just use text to do those headings. And the nice thing about using text when it's done like this is you can then just select them and go to properties by right-clicking and change a lot of the values there. So you can see, even though I typed in that 5 for the height, it didn't pick it up. So I'm just going to here, and now I can change it easily to 5. And that's fine. And then also the style and the other things like that. And because they're just simple text items, I can move them individually, of course. And then draw lines for your borders. So there's nothing at all wrong with that. Yeah. So that's in the past what I would have done most of the time when I first... Well, that's fine. If you're the sort of person who wants an automated tool to do this, the table tool will basically do this for you. So I'll show you that as well. Yeah, yeah. Look, that's right. Yeah, I mean, you'll see why in a minute. I'm not a huge fan of the table tool in AutoCAD, but also it's got its place. But again, here, if you want to just copy text, and it's a good chance to practice things like the copy tool as well, because you can see you could even do potentially, multi-line text and get this to go down by pressing enter to get your extra lines of text. Or maybe let's go drawing numbers. Probably makes more sense. 002, 003. Oh yeah, let's quickly have a look at numbering conventions. So, I've put, before we get into tables, I've put those things, 001, 002 as my drawing number. But, should that be the starting point? Should we be starting at 1 and then going to 2, 3 and 4 for your drawing numbers? Yeah, that's right. The title page often, I normally make them 0, but then you don't want the number to show on the page either for the cover page. But then what's going to happen if you start the next page as number 1, then what's going to happen if you need to add more drawings later to your drawing set that need to go before number 1? Yeah, well, you've got to think about the system you're going to use, and it's up to you. You're the ones who decide. Yeah, you can use that approach, but probably the most common is to start at 100. And a lot of people even start at 101 and make that their first drawing, but otherwise 100. And then you put A in front to say the discipline is architecture. Technically, if you look up the standards, and there are international standards for these things, do you know what the convention for interior design is? Or the denominator, the descriptor? I. Yeah, so I is what you're meant to use for interiors drawings, but no one ever uses it, mostly because interior designers tend to work with architects and do similar work. That's right, exactly, they are. I think they're within the discipline of architecture. And the other problem is I's look like 1s, so it's not common practice to use I, even though if you look up a lot of the international standards, they will say that I is for interiors. Again, better off sticking with A. So A100 or A101 for your first drawing, but you could say A100 is your cover sheet, and then 101 will be the first drawing. Oh, 101 for the first drawing, and then I'll say 100 is the cover, which I won't list in this table. So then the next one will be 10. Oh, now, do you go to 102 for the next drawing? Kind of, yeah, pretty much, that's right, yeah. So there is a system for all of this as well, if you look it up, and I'll show you how you can look it up, because I don't remember all these standards off by heart. But there are, of course, international standards for all these things. So drawing number conventions will, I'm sure, give it to you, because this is all standard stuff. If you want to look up the full standards, I won't bore you with those because they're huge and not very interesting, but there is a British Architecture, British Institute of Architects standard, and there's an American one as well. As far as I know, there isn't an Australian one. And they're very detailed, essentially, if you want to read through them. So here you can see the basic principles, and so it'll tell you, again, A for architecture, I for interiors, but we're not going to do I. Yeah, the British one and the American one are quite similar for this part. Yep. And so then the designator, right? So plans are 1, elevations are 2, sections are 3, and so on, and then details are 5. Okay, so that means you can insert drawings in between as well later without having to renumber everything. So here, so we're going to say leave room for the plan. So I'll say the plan is 1, that's fine, and 101, that's okay for the first one, but it's not a bad idea sometimes to just make it 110. But I'll leave that 101, and then we'll say the next one is going to be maybe 102, that's okay, and then that'll be another plan, and then I'll say we'll skip to elevations, and that's going to be A, and I always have to look these up if I'm not doing it every day. Where's it going? So elevations again to sections 3, so maybe we'll skip straight to sections because I don't think you'll need to do elevations. So 301. Yep. Yeah, exactly, yep. And then details, 501. So then you can have the drawing title, so this would be plans, plans and phones, and sections and details. Okay, so again, text works, but if you want to try the table tool, it's actually not that bad if you have your text style already set up, but you still need to make a table style. So I'll just show you that really quickly. Here, going to table style. I'm going to click. Actually, I'm just going to modify this one. We're only going to have one table style, so I've got standard, and I'll click modify. I'm going to then make sure it is annotate. Well, it doesn't really matter if it's annotated because we're doing it in paper space. I'm going to check the title style first in cell style, and you've got all the different options there for the margins, and then the format. If you click there, I'll just leave that on general, but then you've got the, where is it, the option for your font. Oh, it's have to hunt for this. So on text is the second tab. So that's the general settings for cell styles, title. Then the second tab there gives us the text size, which is probably the most important setting for any of your text styles. It's weird that it's on that second tab, but that's just how it is. And so, just like I've done with my leaders and dimensions, I'm going to start with a style that we've already got. So maybe I'll use the same one I've been using, title block tags. And you can see then that it's got my text type locked to 3.5. And then I'm going to hit browse and then new to make a new copy of that style. So I'll call this table title. And then I'll set the height of this to 5. And I'm actually going to turn annotative off for this one. Right, and then make sure that's set. So then we should see over here that the title text is bigger, but often that preview doesn't work very well. So I'll go now to my header, and you can see then again we've got that standard font set. Could actually use that, but I'll just, to make it clear, go and browse, and then start with my table title style. Click new, and we'll call this table header, and change the height of that to maybe 4, maybe 4.5. And I'll make it 4. And then close it. It should give me a chance to apply it, and then just flick down to the, or up in this case, to the data cell style, and again browse, start with one of those table styles, new, and call this table data, and then put in the height I want, so maybe I'll make that 3.5. There we go. So now we can see the 3 different text heights in my table, and that's it. So if I click OK now, I'm going to leave all the other settings on default and just close it, and then click on the table button to make a table. It gives you a chance to change the number of columns. So what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns, and the column width I'm going to leave on default. We can adjust that, and then the data rows you can add as you go, but it's good to get a decent number to start with. So maybe 4 or 5 to start with is enough, and I'll leave the row height just on one line. That's fine. So so that's it. Click OK, and you can see then it's going to put in that basic table setup. I'll just put it down below to start with, and then it wants you to type in all those fields. So we'll call this drawing list, and then you can either click into the next cell or just press enter, and it should go through to then the headers. So this will be drawing number, and then when I press enter, it should go down to my first cell after that. So that's going to be A101, A102, A301, A501, so on. Okay, so then again, as I press enter, yeah, it'll probably get to the end and finish, but we can always just double click and then click into any of those fields to type in some more headings. So amendment, and so on. So you can also change the widths of these cells using the grips there, or widths of the columns, and it's fairly intuitive, I suppose, the way you can adjust all those fields. Okay, but having done all of that, I'll just show you maybe some of the reasons that I don't really still, even though I can use the table tool, don't really use it for things like this all that often, because you can imagine if I've got to add some more things to this list. Well, the way I've done it there, that's going to be a bit tedious because it's all one block of text. So what I would do in reality, I've shown you this way of doing it with, you know, multiple lines within one text block. But what I would really do is something like that. So all of these are separate text items. So I can then just copy those down. Yep. And I find that much easier because you can again just manually put in your lines and make it all even, so you can move this and get that first one with the correct spacing that we want. And so maybe I'll actually even just delete that second row of text and copy it again, and that I've drawn my line. Because if I copy it with the line, then I can just click the copy button, snap to the corner of my line, or the end of my line above. Right, I'm not copying that line, I'm using it just to give the base point. And then I can just keep snapping down to each one. Right, and then if I realise I've got to insert things, I can easily move the whole block down, and I'm not limited by the way the table tool works, or even the way the text tools work. And I find that's much quicker and easier than using tables. It's pretty hard. It doesn't have all the great tools like Excel does for inserting rows and things like that. So yeah, if we want to insert a row, I think there is a tool to do that. If we double click, where is it? I thought there was something. Yeah, you can insert things. It's fiddly though. So you've got to do each column. That's right. If you wanted to maybe move down a whole block of entries, so. Oh, you can change them. You can definitely change them all. But say you wanted to just move down 10. I mean, you can have a big list of drawings. Say you want to move. Yeah, that's right. If you want to move that whole row down and insert another 5 rows or something like that, it's fairly fiddly with the table tool. Whereas when it's like this, if they're just all separate blocks of text, it's easy, right? Because you're not limited by the way the table tool is in AutoCAD. If it was Excel, I'd say just use the table tool. Excel is a table tool, pretty much. And you can insert rows, and if you're used to doing all those great things you can do with Excel, you probably find the table tool in AutoCAD really frustrating. So if we say A101 and then A102 in Excel, oops. I'm just trying to get a bit of a sequence here. So A0102, wasn't it? There we go. So if you don't know in Excel all the great options you have for just automatically populating fields, and then if you realise you've got to insert a row, no problem, we can just add that in by right-clicking and it's easy. But in the table tool in AutoCAD, so I'm going to say A104A or something needs to go in there, no problem. To do that simple thing in AutoCAD is a lot more work because it won't move all the other associated fields down for you. Yeah, it's tedious. So I know, you think, oh great, I've got a table tool that will automate a lot of the work for me, but it's really not. In a way, it's sort of creating work for you as well. It's up to you though. If you want to use a table tool, you can, but if you want to just draw lines, when you print it out, no one else will know the difference. Or you can import Excel. You can, oh that's hard. Is that hard? Yeah, you can link what you can do is, using SQL tools and things like that, you can link Excel tables into the AutoCAD tables. You can. I haven't done that for 10 years, but I used to do it a lot. And it works fairly well, but if you're doing that all the time, and you need to produce lots of tables with Excel, I'd highly recommend that you put the sheets together in InDesign or something like that, make a PDF, and then just stick your tables on afterwards. With a program like that, they're much better at it than AutoCAD is, generally. So, so that's it. And then, as you make your table, so I'll just tidy this and make it a little bit neater. Okay, so you can then, before you even do all your drawings, just go through the brief. And it's a good little mental exercise just to list all of the drawings you think you'll need. And then you can keep adding to this list. Sorry, I've gone the wrong way. Okay, so just by working off the brief there, I can start to nominate every drawing, pretty much, that we're going to do. So, and now amendments, that should just be an A. And again, this is why I love just doing it as text, because once I do that one, again, this can all just be deleted easily. And I can copy that text, as long as you're comfortable working with a base point, by snapping, say, to the corner here. Maybe I'll move it across first so that it's where I want it to be. And copy, snapping to that corner point there to set it out, and then just easily snap to the same corner in each cell, and it's lined up perfectly. And it's all. So now just listing the drawing, so proposed floor plan. You can see over here on the right. Okay, so of course it's not fitting anymore. If this was a table, we'd have to adjust the cell width and then look at how that all works with the table settings we've got. And you can do that, but again, when it's just lines, it's a good chance to make sure you're comfortable using those basic editing tools. So I've been using copy and move to set up my text, but now I can use stretch and get all of those lines inside the crossing window that I want to select, or use to select things I'm going to stretch. It's picked up that text as well, which actually would be okay because the base point isn't inside the window, but if you want to make sure that the text doesn't move, maybe you can always use Shift with stretch to deselect things. Now press enter and then click and easily stretch those lines across. Yeah, it is brilliant. Yeah. So, sorry? Yep. Oh yeah, I know things with proportions are out. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, so then I can just keep putting in a few other names. So, well, this would be more plans. So then maybe the sections. Oh, now. So you need to have floor plans and sections. So in the brief, they're listed with the sections after the plans. But of course, ceiling plans are still plans. So the ceiling plans probably should go in the list. So where's that brief? In a different order. So the reflective ceiling plans would go here. So that would still be, you know, beginning with A1, but then maybe you would go to 110 to separate them so you can insert more floor plans before your reflected ceiling plans. And then you might put in something for the sections. Oh, you've got your furniture, furniture and well, FF&E, furniture, fittings and equipment, or fixtures and equipment, and they're still plans really, so that would go in the same group. I'll just put FFE for now, and so that might be A130. And then we can have the sections with the 3 and And then maybe what was the details? Okay, now there's one field that you could add that is helpful. It's optional, but it's a nice thing to have. So I've realised, just as an example, that I want to add a column to this list now.
So, question. Our question is this for the next assessment or this assessment?
For this assessment.
If we haven't done FFE,
No,
we're supposed to have. We're supposed to have done.
Yeah, and in this, yeah, so Danny, in this brief,
Yeah.
it has everything for all of the assessments.
Oh, okay, right, yep.
But in the actual marking for week 1, it
Yep.
only has. Doesn't say FFE. Yeah, it doesn't have FFE on there.
Okay, let's have a look.
So I don't know if that's.
Oh, yeah, so we'll just leave that out there.
Yeah.
That's fine, yep.
Because it tells you in detail all the construction needs and all the requirements.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, so I'm just going through down the
There's a
list.
lot more than I do
Yeah.
Mhm.
next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. So, yeah, so that's right. That wouldn't go on the list. That's fine. And then, so kitchen details, yeah, ceiling details. Oh, you do have RCP at least. Okay, so that's a good chance to do a change. So, okay, so say I've realised that. Well, firstly, I'll look at adding a column. So again, if this was a table, you can definitely right-click. When you right-click on the cells over here, oh, yeah, there we go. Could insert rows. I knew you could do it. So here you can insert. If you right-click on the numbers, you can insert rows. Right, and that works. It's not too bad. And you can also right-click on these column headings to insert columns. But again, then copying batches of text across from one to the other is pretty fiddly. Trust me, it's not a simple thing. And if you want to just populate a whole column with new text, there's no one-click thing that will do that for you, as far as I know, like you have in Excel, where you can just do that easily. But if you've just drawn it with text and lines, I'll show you how simple it is. Okay, so I want to move this across because I want to add a field. So I'm going to go and click Move, and just move those lines across. Or, sorry, stretch. Yep, stretch will be fine. Yep. And actually what I'll do is, so after, yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. All the details will be grouped together. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So a nice one that you can add there, just to help you understand the drawings, would be scale. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to fix these up so they're centered a bit better. So now I can just copy the text across really easily from a previous field, because again, it's not part of the table. And then we can just say scale. And if you're not sure, you've got all the drawing options, also the text formatting option when you double click up the top there. You can justify it and make it center and so on. And so I can do that here as well. And then for some reason dragging to the left is always difficult when you're in that double click text editing, but when you just select it once, you get the grips and they work just fine. It's one of those strange AutoCAD things. So, and so a nice thing there, to line those up, if you draw something like a centre line like this, you can then...
We can just make the text box the same size and then
the... Oh yes, you can, that's what I'm doing, yeah. So, yeah, that's fine. If you drag it over, if it is centre justified. So, that's right, you can, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. So if we drag that across with the grip, so it's stretching to either side, it will be centered exactly. That's fine. Or you can snap it, because when the justify is set to center, and then you go to move something, you can use the node base point should come up, and it's it's not coming up there. What's going on? It should come up anyhow. So it's coming up there. It should come up as a node, but you can always move it from that point anyway. And yeah, is misbehaving. But yeah, I think the way you said is probably the best anyway. Using the full text box size works fine. But you'll see there's going to be instances where it helps to draw construction lines in to help set out your text as well. And so there, again, I can put in the scale that I want. So 1 to 100 or 1 to 50. I forgot what I said. Was it 1 to 50 for your plans? I thought it was 1 to 50. Oh, yeah, 1 to 100. Yeah, no, it's 1 to 100 anyway. So, yeah, so if they're showing a large area, even on A2, yeah, you probably won't fit them. So 1 to 100. What? No, you can't. No, not for construction drawings. So you'll have to do part plans then and spread them across sheets. But do you need to have, so I thought that level should fit on at 1 to 100. Yeah, you should easily, I mean, 1 to 100, I know that building pretty well. Yeah, I'd be surprised if you can't fit it on an A2 sheet, but, well, that's another thing you can set up and check, but yeah, you can't do it any smaller than that, really, I think. But yeah, so just to finish this off then, we can copy that really easily the same way, just snap into those points there. Again, I find it so much easier than using the table tool. And yeah, and then change the scale, of course. Yeah, sure, no, you're right, I'm pretty much done. Snapping to... Yeah. Oh, don't use copy and paste. That's probably why. So, yeah, so you've got 2 copy tools. So you've got this one.
Oh, yeah, I mean that.
Oh, that one, yeah. And that's different to the clipboard one. Oh, yeah, okay. So with copy, it'll always ask you for a base point. So you have to...
I just thought, see that little funny green, I just wondered if it was my laptop.
Oh, so you've got to check your object snap settings, maybe?
Maybe that's that.
And so you've got your running object snaps. But a good thing to do to test it out, because there are lots turned on, you can always just type in 1. So if I want to force it to look for, say, an intersection, it's normally the first 3 letters of that object snap. So if I type INT, for intersection, enter, then it's only going to look for an intersection point. And that forces it just for that one click, which is handy. And then, so I can pick it up there and then snap to here, and I know it's set out exactly the same distance from the corner here as it was from the corner up here. Right, so do you need to show the whole level? Or, yeah. I mean, if it's just a location plan to locate where your bathrooms are, then maybe that's okay. But you'll still need to have another floor plan at 1 to 100. So, the whole floor plan? Right, yeah, that's just to locate things, to locate the other floor plans. Yeah, so you'll need that just so that you can have a dashed line around the area that you're going to show on your 1 to 100 plan. Yeah. And that locates that main floor plan, which has to be at 1 to 100. Because you can't show construction information at 1 to 2, even at 1 to 200, let alone 1 to 250. And the other problem is, scales like that are not really acceptable scales for interiors and architecture. It's only in engineering that you can use 1 to 250. So you want to use either 1 to 100, 1 to 200, or 1 to 500. And so try 1 to 200. I'm sure, I mean, I've done buildings bigger than this, quite a bit bigger. That fit at, yeah, that's what I thought, yeah. Yeah, I did a one building that's almost twice that floor, footprint on A3 sheets, and we were doing all the A3s at 1 to 200, and that located all the detail plans, and we'd have most of them in call-outs at 1 to 50 or 1 to 100. So that's it. So that's a drawing schedule, which will be on your cover page, and you can use either method as long as it looks like a table and it lists all your drawings. That's the main thing. You can have your logo and everything else in the corner, but you don't want to have a full title block like this because it's redundant. So you should also have the project information. Maybe just so I don't bore you, making you watch me do all of that. It's just text. And so we'll put drawing, schedule, yeah, into Google, and I'm sure they'll have plenty on cover pages. So some of them are going to be pretty technical by the engineers. I've got lots that are in AutoCAD. This is what the old ones used to look like when they were really boring and technical. Yeah, so you can put in a marks field as well, I suppose, if you want to put comments. But where's one with the title? I see, again, they're going to show Revit, because Revit automates a lot of this now. It's got a drawing list tool in Revit. If you haven't seen that one, it's pretty handy. Yeah, maybe, yeah. Or maybe cover page. Or maybe not. I mean, even this would be acceptable to the bare minimum. Yeah, yeah, you can lay that out however you want. And sometimes for smaller projects, they'll even be on, in with all the other drawings, and that will be your first drawing with the plan and the drawing list there as well. But because this is a larger project, definitely keep it on its own page. Here we go. That's one I'm sure it's from Revit, and maybe let's see if we can get or title page. Oh yeah, here we go, that's a nicer one. It's got the title block, which is a bit of a no-no. So you don't want that title block because it's going to have the same information you should have with the table. There we go. So that's another approach, which is to have a nice graphic and even locality drawings, which you'll have probably anyway, that you can add in there because they're often quite small. So that's a pretty good approach actually, a format like that. But again, maybe you don't need that title on the side, you can have that information. Yeah. I mean, I think that can be assumed. People know, they should know what all those symbols are. Probably doesn't hurt to explain it to people who have no idea, but you'd assume anyone reading the drawings. Yeah, maybe, yeah, maybe residential wouldn't know, but for this, commercial projects, you could assume they know what a section and an elevation reference are. So, hopefully that's more than enough on title pages. They're normally just, like a table of contents, really. But let me know if there's anything else.
Is that all? Is that table?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know you just showed
The table, but then also do some other text to show, the project name. So you normally do that in nice big font. So I'm going to get rid of above or below. It's up to you. But what do you think reads well? So maybe you could say, again, using the same text. So here, just so it's clear, it keeps bumping back to my last text style. So I'm going to keep switching back to the one that I want to use. One that I've made, like the title block tags one would be fine, and again just use some multi-line text, and then don't forget you can change the height up here. So I'm going to make it maybe a nice large size like 7.5, or might even need to be bigger. So what is it, Barangaroo? Is it double R? You have to never spell these sort of things. Yeah. Oh, is it right? Yeah, that doesn't look right. Yeah. And there's a double. There's another double. It's got. Let's look it up. Oh no, one. Yeah. No, you're right. No, it's because it is right on Woolloomooloo and all those others. They have all the doubles. So, and they're all, from the same language group. So again, you can see there the height Probably isn't good enough, but I can always go to properties afterwards. It did go into 7.5, but it gives a chance there to try some different heights. And you can also change the justification there. And so, what is it? Toilet or amenities? Yeah. So amenities, facilities. Yeah. Well, documentation. Drawings, maybe. Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Nothing, of course.
So.
Nothing's ever of course.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, these things in the past wouldn't have even been taught. You just would have been expected to go into the job site and start doing it by looking at the others that people have done in the same workplace. Yeah. Yeah. So, again, the title's up to you, but that's probably not a bad starting point. Amenities.
Commas after amenities, facilities, documentation.
Yeah, I'd probably make it a bit nicer or easier to read, but I mean that says it all, but I'm sure you can come up with a better way of saying it than me. I just don't want to have toilet in my name for the drawing set. And it's funny, toilet used to be the polite name for bathroom. Yeah, but now, you know, now it's yeah, or water closets, but that's because, you know, they were a recent invention, having a toilet like that. But what is it? Toilet's the old French for hand towel or something.
Well, that's just where you do your cleaning.
Yeah. So that should be enough, hopefully. Can't think of anything else for that cover page.
We have to put our name and stuff.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, so it's going to be in the drawn by, but you should also have that somewhere in the title or underneath it, and again it's up to you how you arrange that. You want the address, so you definitely want the project address in there, and I don't know what that is, so I'll just make up, but you need the, 140, you know, Cove Street or whatever it is, Group. Well, no, you have to go and look up what it is. Yeah, it's fairly easy. Whatever that street is, it'll tell us. Probably here. Hickson Road. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
It's the international tower.
Yeah. So you can even put that, and then if you can find, oh here we go, Scotch Road. But those things are not even real streets, but that would be the address. Yeah, so you can look that up, and again, make sure you've got your name. So you could even, again, you can use the one text box or block to do those things, but sometimes it's easier if you're comfortable using the editing and drawing tools in AutoCAD just to copy and modify them. It's like InDesign. You know, if you try to use paragraph blocks in InDesign to do your layout for your headings and everything like that, you're crazy. In InDesign, yeah, what you just...
Well, I've never used paragraph blocks.
Individual boxes, yeah, so that's right, because formatting within a block of text in InDesign is pretty painful, and then when you want your heading to be spaced differently, to get all the settings in a text box there is really tedious. I don't know why InDesign's that bad, actually, because it's for...
Has a one form you were doing every day.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose they want to let people have control over exactly where things go on the page, because for publishing.
Yeah.
But Word has much better tools for working with big blocks of text than InDesign does. Oh no, not for the precise placement. That's right. But then to get text to space, you know, across when you're going across pages and things like that, and when you insert and change your headings and things like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's I suppose why they can have. Yeah. So yeah, look, yeah. So it's like InDesign. You know, don't try and use all of the formatting tools you've got within a paragraph block, like you would if you're working in Word, because Word is made for working with big, long blocks of text that might go over 100 pages. InDesign and AutoCAD are not made that way. They're made to let you place the text blocks as blocks individually. So, you know, this probably should be a smaller size, but it's much easier now that it's a separate block of text. I can just go in and do that. So is there anything else? I mean, it's probably nothing new to you once you realise you can just use text and lines. If you want to have a go at the table tool, of course you're welcome to, but you don't have to.
They'll still you know what goes on it.
Oh yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, so the best thing there again, you're so lucky now with Google, you know, telling you everything, because when I started doing this, there was no internet. Yeah. So we had to get out the graphical standards books. Yeah, I'll ask them to in a minute. Yeah.
Can we just ask them to, like, lower the fan?
They can't change the temperature. Yeah. Not really, no. That's all set by the thermostat. I know.
They do this all year. They have it freezing cold in
Yeah.
summer, and then in winter they make it so hot.
Yeah, now what it is, it's air conditioning in general because they have a thermostat. I'll finish the video.